lot of the early skepticism of AI was also about some of the cost angle, right? It's not cheap to implement AI or agentic or any of the other architectures, right? But what's happening is with every month, every quarter, the cost is coming down, right? The ROI use cases are getting better and better. So on that note, what do you think needs to change in the industry to be able to adopt some of these technologies better? And I'm not just talking from a technology evolution perspective, right? There's also changes that need to happen in our behaviors. Either we as members need to evolve, our regulatory standards might need to evolve, we as organizations need to move faster. We need to think of it in more bite-sized pieces, maybe instead of more monolithic long-term projects. So what are some of those big changes that you think needs to happen in industry before AI and any other form of technology really takes off?
In a perfect world, in a utopian world, right? If all the healthcare providers contributed their data to be trained, because 70% of the issues are common, then there are 30% which are unique to each customer. Either the Blues will have a certain rhythm, there are payers that have less than 100,000 members would behave differently, the nationals would behave differently, but 70% is the same. The customer journeys are largely the same. Now imagine if all of them are able to provide the data, assuming the data is clean. That's again a big assumption. The data has to be tagged, it has to come and fall into some swim lanes. And if all that goes into and if you start training this large language model, but you don't have to raise $100 billion to do it, and you do it at a fraction of that cost, I mean, there will be a time when it happens. And then from that utility, you create the smaller language models that are relevant to each one of the customers for them to differentiate. But you're not taking away the competitive advantage of how these people compete with each other, but then you're solving for an industry issue of trying to make those customer journeys inelastic and make it a lot more relevant up to a certain point, up to a certain segment, the way you want to look at your customers, be it, as I said, in the age zip code or in the income zip code or, where they are. But after that, if that happens, then there is truly a democratization of data within a Fort Knox environment where the data gets trained, and then it should bring down the inefficiencies in the segment by such a large magnitude that it then puts the power back into the member. It then keeps the payers, they deal. So it just, as I said, that's an utopian world, right? I mean, it's very difficult to get there, but the steps that at least people like us at ResultsCX, what we're trying to do is we're taking baby steps in picking those, to your point, where in those segments where it lends itself to an agentic AI, to where I need a human definitely in front of having that conversation, and in that continuum, which of these models lend, and anything which is agentic will lend itself to a small language model being trained, which then allows for the application to automatically happen and solve for the issues.